What if the most intimidating girl in high school wasn't powerful because she was the smartest, the prettiest, or even the nicest? What if she was powerful because she understood something most people completely overlook? She understood how people react to confidence, status, attention, and perception. That's what makes Regina George such an interesting character. She's fictional. Her world is exaggerated. Her behavior is often cruel. But some of the psychological principles surrounding her are surprisingly real. And no, this isn't about becoming manipulative, mean, or emotionally cold. It's about separating the unhealthy behavior from the psychological lessons hiding underneath it. Because if you understand why Regina had so much influence, you can also understand how social power works in everyday life. So let's break it down. Welcome back. Here, we take famous characters, stories, and cultural moments and look underneath the surface to understand the psychology behind them. And Regina George gives us plenty to work with. 1. People respond to the image you project. Regina didn't walk around North Shore High introducing herself as the most important person in the building. She didn't need to. Her behavior communicated it for her. The way she dressed, the people around her, the confidence in her body language, the way she entered conversations, even the way she reacted when someone challenged her. All of these tiny signals created a larger impression. And once people formed that impression, they started behaving according to it. That's the interesting part. People don't respond only to who you actually are. They also respond to the version of you they believe they're dealing with. This happens everywhere. At school, at work, in friendships, in business, online. Someone who appears uncertain may be treated differently from someone who communicates calmly and confidently, even if both people have exactly the same ability. That's why personal presentation matters. Not because you should create a fake personality, but because your behavior constantly tells people what to expect from you. Regina understood that instinctively. She didn't leave her image to chance. 2. Attention becomes more valuable when it's selective. Regina didn't treat everyone's attention equally. And she didn't give her own attention away equally either. That created a strange psychological effect. When someone is constantly available, their attention can become ordinary. But when someone is selective with their time and attention, people may begin to notice it more. Think about how differently you react when someone who rarely compliments you suddenly says something positive. You remember it. Why? Because it stands out. Regina used this principle in a much more manipulative way. She made social approval feel like something people had to earn. That's not healthy when taken to an extreme. But there is a useful lesson underneath it. You don't have to give everyone unlimited access to you. Your time matters. Your attention matters. Your energy matters. Being selective doesn't mean acting superior. It means understanding that constantly seeking everyone else's approval can make you forget your own priorities. 3. Social awareness creates influence. One of Regina's biggest advantages was that she noticed things. She paid attention to relationships. She noticed insecurities. She understood rivalries. She recognized who wanted acceptance and who wanted status. That gave her an enormous amount of social information. And information changes how you navigate a situation. Imagine walking into a room and knowing nothing about the people around you. Now imagine walking into the same room after listening carefully for months. You know who works well together. You know who has influence. You know who speaks loudly but has little authority. You know who actually makes decisions. Your behavior automatically becomes more strategic. That's social awareness. And you don't need to manipulate anyone to develop it. Listen more. Observe more. Interrupt less. Notice patterns. Remember what people tell you. Pay attention to the emotional atmosphere of a room. Most people are so focused on what they're going to say next that they miss what's happening around them. Sometimes, simply paying closer attention gives you an advantage. 4. Confidence often appears before proof. Here's one of the most interesting things about Regina. She behaved like she belonged at the top before anyone formally confirmed that she did. That matters. In many social environments, people look for signals that tell them who is confident, who is uncertain, who is influential, and who is likely to take responsibility. The person who confidently steps forward can sometimes become the person others naturally follow. This doesn't mean pretending to know everything. It means becoming comfortable taking initiative. Instead of saying, "Maybe someone else should do it," you say, "I'll handle it." Instead of waiting for permission to contribute, you contribute. Instead of constantly asking whether you're good enough, you start improving through action. Confidence doesn't always arrive before action. Sometimes action is what creates confidence. 5. You don't need everyone to approve of you. Regina wanted control. But one thing she didn't seem particularly interested in was being universally loved. That's an important distinction. A lot of people spend enormous amounts of energy trying to avoid disappointing anyone. They change their opinions. They hide their personality. They agree when they don't agree. They remain silent because they're afraid of being judged. And eventually, they become a version of themselves designed entirely around other people's comfort. That's not confidence. Real confidence means accepting that not everyone will understand you. Not everyone will agree with you. Not everyone will like you. And that's okay. The goal isn't to become disliked. The goal is to stop treating other people's approval as the foundation of your identity. Because if your entire sense of worth depends on being accepted, anyone can control your emotional state simply by withdrawing their approval. 6. Presence can be more powerful than popularity. Regina had something beyond popularity. She had presence. People noticed when she entered a room. They noticed when she was silent. They noticed when she was angry. They noticed when she ignored someone. That's presence. And presence isn't about being the loudest person. Sometimes it's the opposite. It's about being comfortable enough in yourself that you don't constantly fight for attention. Think about the difference between someone desperately trying to be noticed and someone who is completely comfortable occupying their space. The second person often feels more powerful. Why? Because they aren't communicating desperation. They're communicating certainty. 7. The appearance of independence is powerful, but real independence is better. Regina often behaved as if she didn't need anyone. That created an image of emotional independence. And humans naturally respond to perceived independence. Someone who desperately needs approval can become easy to influence. Someone who can calmly walk away has more freedom. But there's an important warning here. Pretending not to care is not the same as actually being secure. Regina's behavior often suggested that underneath the confidence was a huge fear of losing status. That's why she reacted so intensely whenever her position was threatened. Real independence isn't saying, "I don't need anybody." It's being able to say, "I value people, but I don't lose myself without their approval." That's a much stronger position. You can love people without depending on them for your identity. You can appreciate compliments without needing them. You can experience rejection without believing you're worthless. That's emotional independence. 8. Status can be built through consistency. Regina's influence wasn't created in one afternoon. It was reinforced repeatedly. People saw the same signals again and again. The same confidence. The same social position. The same expectations. Eventually, the reputation became bigger than any individual moment. That's how status often works. People don't judge you based on one isolated interaction. They remember patterns. If you're consistently reliable, people start trusting you. If you're consistently calm under pressure, people start seeing you as stable. If you're consistently competent, people start looking to you when something matters. Your reputation is essentially the story people tell themselves about what they can expect from you. And that story is built through repetition. 9. Power without character is fragile. And here's where Regina's story becomes much more interesting. She had influence. She had status. She had attention. But she didn't have genuine emotional security. And eventually, the difference became obvious. This is the part people sometimes miss when they romanticize characters like Regina. External power and internal strength are not the same thing. You can control a room and still struggle to control yourself. You can have hundreds of people watching you and still feel invisible. You can receive constant attention and still feel insecure. You can look confident while being terrified of losing your position. That's why copying someone's external behavior isn't enough. If you want lasting confidence, you need the internal foundation too. 10. The real lesson isn't to become Regina. This is where we should draw the line. Regina's cruelty isn't a life strategy. Manipulation isn't confidence. Bullying isn't leadership. Making people afraid of you isn't the same as earning their respect. And destroying someone else's confidence doesn't make yours stronger. The useful lessons are somewhere else. Be intentional about how you present yourself. Protect your time. Pay attention to your environment. Build social intelligence. Take initiative. Stop begging for approval. Become comfortable with being misunderstood. Develop genuine competence. And most importantly, build enough self-respect that you don't need to control everyone around you. Because the strongest person in the room isn't necessarily the person everyone fears. Sometimes it's the person who doesn't need to prove anything. Final thought. Regina George is memorable because she represents an exaggerated version of something we see in real life. People respond to confidence. People notice status. People value what feels scarce. People follow certainty. People remember presence. And people can be heavily influenced by perception. But there's a difference between understanding those principles and abusing them. You don't need to manipulate people to become influential. You don't need to make others feel small to feel important. You don't need to dominate every conversation. And you definitely don't need a burned book. What you need is something much harder.